Hi, I'm T, and welcome to my beginner Roblox scripting tutorial series. This video is going to be a little bit longer, but it's done on purpose because we're combining two key concepts, printing and variables. And guys, I cannot stress this part enough. I have built-in exercises and breaks so that way you can get practice in. The practice is the most important part to your learning. If you get stuck, remember to check the Roblox documentation, link in the description. And if you have any questions, be sure to comment down below. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Now, let's start with printing. So what is printing exactly? Printing is ultimately a way for the computer to communicate with us. Think of print like a walkie-talkie from inside the game. In Roblox Lua, the way to print is by typing print, and then you want to put whatever value you want into the parentheses, right? So in this case, we have a string. Now, what is a string? I'm not going to talk too much about data types, but of course, I will explain them very briefly. So a string is ultimately just a text. Think of it like a string of text. Right? So I could type anything within this. I can type numbers and it'll ultimately be a string. So when I run this, you see all of that stuff that I just typed is all in the console, right? So we printed a string, right? And I'll prove it to you. So if I do print type of all of that stuff that I did, it'll show the type of thing I just printed, which is a string. So in Roblox Lua, remember, like I said, a string is going to be a string of text or string of data that is surrounded by quotes, right? And you can actually use single quotes as well. It's the same thing, right? So you can use double quotes or single quotes, but preferably just use the double quotes. The other data type that we're going to talk about today are numbers. So you can see here that if I type in 5 plus 5, and I also have 5 plus 5 in double quotes, these two look similar, but they also look different. So let's go ahead and print the first one. You can see that it only prints the string 5 plus 5. But when I go back and print 5 plus 5 with the number, now, because it's not a string and it's a number, it'll actually print out what we know it will be. And that is 10. And here we can also verify that this in fact is a number. All right, let's pause here for a quick break. Please use this time to try the exercise for yourself. And when you're ready, unpause the video and we'll get right back into it. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about variables. So I'm just gonna make this super simple, right? Variables are tools or containers that allow you to save a lot of time. So the way to create a variable in Roblox Lua is by typing local, whatever your variable name. So I'm just gonna say variable name is equal to, let's say T, right? Now, when I actually go to print this, remember, we have a container here. So this is like a label, right? On a box. So now I have T stored inside of this box labeled as variable. Now, when I take this variable name, I can go down on a later line, print this out to console. Now, before I print this, take a guess and tell me what you think this will be. So I'm going to go ahead and run it now. So as you can see, we printed T to the console here, even though we said print variable name. Right? Now, don't get this confused with print variable name, right? Because all we did was reference a variable that we created, right? You can see the difference here. This is surrounded in double quotes, which means it's a string, right? Now, that's a little bit different, right, than this, because this is the actual name of the variable, right? This is technically the name, but the only way to reference the variable is by typing the physical name itself, not surrounded by anything, right? So when I print this, it'll say T and then variable name. It's a little confusing at first, but I'll just show you an example. So instead of saying variable name, you also want to name your variables things that make sense. Like you want to give it a name that makes sense, right? So let's say player name, right? Instead of variable name, you can name this whatever you want, right? And now you can see that there's a red line here, which means there's an error because there's nothing that's there that's named variable name. You can see it. And everything that you reference must be above where you're trying to reference, right? So if I'm trying to print this out, it needs to be above. It needs to be created. Because if I put this here, right, I'm going to put this here as player name. You see how it's good? Now, when I put this afterwards, it's not, it's going to give me an error because I haven't created it because it goes from top to bottom, right? So now that I've changed this variable name, I can print this. Even though I changed the name, it's still T. Now, let me go ahead and delete this. So what did we learn about the variables so far? We learned that this is a way for you to assign data or put data inside of a container and give it a name, right? That way you can reference it later. Now I'll show you the power of that in a minute. Well, let's go ahead and give another example for these variables, right? So not only can I assign string, I can also assign numbers, right? So let's go ahead and pull this out here. So now we have local number is equal to 5. I'm going to change this to local num of pets, right? So now we have a variable named num of pets, and we have 5, the number data type, assigned to it, right? So now if you guess, based on our previous example, if I type in num of pets here, the variable, what will print to the console, right? Take a guess before I click this, and let's go ahead and see. We have 5. So we have T and then we have 5, right? Because we have print player name, which has T, the string, assigned to it, and then we reference it here. And then we have 5, which prints because of this number that is assigned to the num of pets variable, and it's also being referenced here. So we have T and then we have 5. All right, let's pause here for a quick break. Please use this time to try the exercise for yourself. And when you're ready, unpause the video and we'll get right back into it. Now let's go ahead and get to our other example. So with variables, you're also able to update the data in different ways, right? So I can take this and say, okay, let's say player name. So we're going to take our reference, we're going to take our variable that's been created and say, we're going to say player name is equal to Don, right? What happens now? So now we have player name as T up here. But when I type player name is equal to Don now, what do you think is going to happen? When we go to print player name, it's going to be T, then Don, right? Because we have player name T, we reference it here. Here we have T as the value, as the data inside of player name. When we change the data inside player name, it also changed the data when we printed it to the console, right? That makes sense. Now I can do the same thing with numbers too. So now I can say my num of pets is equal to 6 now, right? And when I type print, let's just print num of pets, what do you think is going to happen? We had T, then we had 5, right? Then we had Don. What do you think is going to print here? Since we changed and updated the variable, we have 6, right? Just like that. So you can see how I can update this stuff without having to actually change anything. Like this thing's already been declared. It's already been created. Now, if I want to change it, all I have to do is say blah, 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 right? And it'll change all of that, right? So like I said, I'm going to show you an example of why this is important, because this doesn't really seem like much right now. But let's go ahead and get to the next example, right? So let's go ahead and comment this out. Let's go ahead and give an example of combining these two variables together, because you can also do that. So I don't have to only print one thing to the console. I can do multiple things, right? So I can do player name, and I can do num of pets by separating it with a comma, right? So by separating it with a comma, I can add multiple values to this thing, and I can even do like hello, and I can also do like a number, right? I can do all of this and it will print in one little section here, right? On one line. So this is useful because if I can do multiple things, you can see here by using string concatenation, which all it means is you're able to combine different values into a string by separating them by 2 periods, right? So I can use this variable here and say player name now has, by adding the 2 periods, it doesn't have to look just like this. It can be like this too, right? Now has num of pets, right? So take a guess before I press this as to what this is going to, like, take a guess and see what you think this is going to be, right? All right, now when I print this and I run this, it's going to say T now has 5 pets, right? And we can see that the variables here are T and 5. And all we did was concatenate or add these data variables, these variables to this string or this print statement. And now we have all of that there, which is awesome. All right, let's pause here for a quick break. Please use this time to try the exercise for yourself. And when you're ready, unpause the video and we'll get right back into it. Now let's go into like the reasoning why you want to save data to variables instead of just typing everything. So without variables, things are long and hard to edit, right? Your code is not scalable, right? You have to literally change every last thing in order for it to work, to be something else, right? Which is not great. When I create a variable, I'm able to change one thing and it'll update, right? So I'll show you. So if I want to say T starts with 5 pets, right? This is what it'll run. T starts with 5 pets. Okay. So now if I want to change T starting pets to 6 pets, 7 pets, 8 pets, I literally have to type this out every single time, right? And this is typed out already, and this is taking time, right? It just doesn't make any sense. This isn't scalable at all. Like, I literally have to do so much work just to do this. Now, the better way is to do it this way. So I'm going to change the player name to Don by referencing the variable and then assigning it a new name. And then now we'll print player name starts with num of pets. So let's go ahead and look. We know player name has been changed to Don, and we also know num of pets from up here. So if I delete these two, Don starts with 5 pets. Now, how is that even possible? It's possible because we changed the name here and we have our reference for a number of pets right here. Now, instead of me typing all of that again, literally all I have to do is change the data, right? So it looks like I'm typing it multiple times, right? Which I am, but all I actually have to do is change one thing. So now if I change this back to let's change this to Brittany, right? Now this will say Brittany starts with 5 pets, right? I don't have to type all of that again. All I have to do is reference the variable that's here and change it, which is very powerful. Now, if I go here and say num of pets is equal to 6, you can see the difference, right? And I'm adding a print statement each time. Brittany starts with 5 pets, right? Then we change num of pets to 6. Now Brittany starts with 6 pets. And if I do the same, 7 and then 8, now we have Brittany starts with 5, 6, 7, 8 pets, just because of me changing the value of this variable to 6, 7, and 8, right? And if I want this to go back to T or a different name, let's say Gabe, now Gabe starts with 5 pets, 6 pets, 7 pets, 8 pets, because of this one line. Instead of me having to say Gabe starts with this, Brittany starts with that, I can change one variable and you can see the power of that now. And that's pretty much it. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. If you guys have any questions or anything, I will be responding to comments as well. Once again, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe if this was useful to you, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.